even if you want to watch golf, and how you can feed into not only just the streaming service, but the analytics that go with
Yep.
it and the details that I think you got to work your way backwards from what the fan needs. And I think that's what they're doing. And then they're being more efficient with what they're doing from a travel perspective.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Welcome. It's Analysts Gone Wild. Robert Kramer with Kramer ERP with the gang here. It's Sam. We finally got to episode 60. It's not for you, but for some of the other gentlemen on the call here. It's outkicked our age coverage. So 60, so I'm pretty happy about that. So I mean, we've been at this for a long time, and we're here to talk about some great stuff, and we got a good crew on. So Robert Kramer with Kramer ERP. I handle ERP, obviously, and CRM, not CRM, SCM. Michael handles CRM pretty well, and so does Ken, and also with data and security. So let's pass around, see what else is going on. Ken, what's new with you today? It's Friday. You're going into the weekend. Anything fun going on? Anything you want to share with us?
Let's see. Going into the weekend, I'm not sure that I've got anything specific planned, but I'm certainly looking forward to taking my foot off the accelerator a little bit. It's been a very busy week.
Well, that's wonderful. Cool. And Michael, what's going on with you?
I don't know. I was I was just happy to have 1 week of not so much travel. How the spring season gets. So yeah.
Where are you off to next?
The end of the month, I'm headed to Seattle for user testing.
Okay. That sounds fun.
Should be interesting. Yeah, it actually is really interesting. They're a voice of the customer type software services.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's cool.
Great. So round it off, Sam. We got baseball. We got, it's mid-May. It's actually exactly mid-May. How the Toronto Blue Jays doing with all the AI use?
There we go. See, Robert is clearly talking about baseball these days. He has to. Yeah, I know. I get it, man. I get it.
And we don't use AI. They banned us.
Yeah, no. And Blue Jays, Tampa Bay Rays, they stole all of our secrets from the last year, and that's why they are not doing as well, I guess, this year. We have Rays. They are doing much better in our division. But we'll get there, Robert.
Of course you will. So what's we jump into it? We got some great stories today, and
let's do it.
Some of the stories are obviously more exciting than others. We'll start with Exclaimer. You guys might know a little bit more about them than I do. Let's maybe hit that first slide. But they provide email signature management, email branding, meeting branding tools for like Microsoft, Google Workspace, stuff like that. They announced a integration with Workday, so organizations can use Workday data for different things that they might need to allocate from an email perspective. So does this matter? It's probably not a massive enterprise platform shift. As you guys are laughing behind the scenes, there's got to be some value here, Michael. There's, I don't think there's not a big risk. I don't think it's a huge impact. But do we care, or do we like it?
It is somewhat lower on my list of care than perhaps some other things in the deck today, but I can see that it's useful, I guess. I always wonder about this because, like, if I'm Workday and somebody builds an automatic signature update thing, couldn't I just build that if I was Workday? I don't know.
I don't know why they couldn't, because it doesn't sound like that complex. But
didn't seem that complex to me. Yeah.
What do we think, Ken?
Ken, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go?
No, I'll go first.
Okay.
Well, so first off, I think that I agree with Michael's point. Why haven't you built this already? And I'll keep my personal comments about having been a Workday user previously to myself, because that's a piece of pain I don't want to actually relive. But I think that to the extent that we can get people out of email mode and being able to stay inside of the system that they're working in and not have all of those unreliable delivery mechanisms potentially influencing or disrupting our workflow. I'm a big fan of being able to keep things in whatever product you're using.
Yeah. So Robert, I can go unless you guys have.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So so this is very interesting, and obviously I'm going to have some context here, and this is coming from a customer. And Robert, you like to hear customer stories, right? So I'll give you.
I love it.
Right. So I would not have appreciated this story before, but now that we know the context, there might be some relevance here. Now, to your point, guys, okay, do you want to build the email signature management functionality? Can Workday do it? Sure, why not? The question remains, if customers are looking for different options, sometimes they are not looking for everything that Workday provides. So they are looking for options. And Workday in general is, I mean, we call them slightly more generalized vendor, not as prescriptive. Prescriptive vendors, they don't work with a lot of different customers in the market because customers are looking for choices. Okay. In this case, this is exclaimer, but I'm pretty sure Workday is going to have 5 different options for email signature, and email signature is not as critical piece of functionality as far as HCM platform goes, because the email signature might span their capabilities across many different platforms. Sometimes the integration could be with the CRM, with the HCM, with so many different categories. And obviously, Workday is not trying to be every category, I guess. That will be a disaster. You know, and the other thing that from the customer story perspective I was talking about is email signature management, especially in some industries, not for profit, public sector, it's fairly critical. Okay, their biggest problem is that, you know, the whole approval process is a nightmare because they have to do outside of the system. So embedding that as part of the process is a critical, problem for those guys. And that's where I see a lot of value in this story.
Interesting. I mean, I wonder, because like I know Microsoft just announced Intra and of course Google Workspace. I mean, both of those have that similar capability, right? So I don't know. It just seems like if you own the email platform, I don't. do you need another thing to do the signature? I don't know.
Signature. So Michael, in my experience, I think it travels through many different categories. I mean, you have some of the email signature platforms like DocuSign, etc., but they also go through CLM. So is CLM part of ACM? I don't know, because the contracts could be with procurement, with employees, with customers. So where is the boundary, I guess? So that's why sometimes email signatures could be standalone as well. I mean, you need that.
Sure.
Depending upon where you are looking for source of authority. Everybody uses that buzzword.
Well, I mean, it is. I suppose the short story there is that it does sort of save you time if you don't ever have to worry about your email signature because it just updates itself. So, I mean, there is some. I could see some very minimal, like, oh, cool, I didn't have to update my signature this week.
Yeah.
How important is a signature in today's world anyways?
I don't know.
I mean, I like the branding, you know, of course, you know, we like to brand ourselves, i.e. my cool, you know, sport jacket here. But at the same time, is it that big of a deal? Do we want to, does anybody look at that? Okay. What percentage of an email when you look at an email, do you actually look at the email signature?
So
only if I need their phone number.
So, guys, I'm pretty sure you guys are not dealing with regulatory organizations, and sometimes there are legal requirements. We cannot dismiss those.
Right.
Okay. So, so in this particular case, you are talking about pharma and not-for-profit, and you know sometimes investment organizations. They have regulatory requirements for those signatures. Okay, that's where I don't know where exclaimer plays, but we need to understand where they are. But signatures are important. These are legal requirements. DocuSign has substantial amount of business, I would say, in the market for a reason, because you need to be legally compliant.
Yeah, well said. We'll go with that.
Fair point.
We got to keep Sam. Sam's. We like his input because he keeps us grounded pretty much. So you need that legal mind behind the mic here, so we make sure that we don't say things wrong or we stay on path, right, Sam?
And you all keep us grounded as well. Keep me, actually, not keep us.
We
I
will.
guess.
Keep it very honest. So, does AI have a role in this at all, or is this not in the loop here?
I didn't find any AI in this one. I looked, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go talk a little bit about HubSpot.
Okay.
They launch an answer engine optimization, their CRM and go-to-market platform for marketing, sales, service, and customer operations, which everybody is pretty familiar with it. Who's used HubSpot before? Ken or Michael, or everybody's used them? Okay. Ken, yeah, pretty good. They got a lot of competitors. They introduced what they call AEO, which is their answer engine optimization solution for it's a solution to help marketers understand, which marketers really never understand, but this is to help them understand, to track how their business, I don't know why I'm in this mood today, but answer these engines such as ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity, which is a pretty good thing. But it's part of their marketing Hub Pro and Enterprise that they charge $50 a month for. Is that per user, Michael, or what is that?
Yeah, that's per user.
So this changes the behavior, and it's definitely, I think, an important factor here. And I think it's, and you guys can chime in, but it's well aligned with where marketing is headed. So I think it's, but I'm not sure how developed it is yet for things on the market. I don't know how it even affects SEO, things of that nature. What do you guys all think?
I mean, obviously, answer engine optimization, generative engine optimization, I probably had 25 conversations about that this week. So it is, it's a very, very hot topic, but it is sort of like early days in SEO where you're using a Ouija board and a dartboard because there's still a lot of questions about what makes it work better and what makes it work less better.
Yep.
So that I think is, obviously marketers are looking for help. And also if you think about the HubSpot marketplace too, right? I mean, they're focused on mid-market. That's an area where, giving them more for, less resource is a good thing. I think it's, there's some positive there, but I actually do have to wonder when I saw this 100+ update release is a little bit on the scary side. I mean, I don't know, that's a lot for a mid-market company to absorb in a short period of time. But again, I mean, it does seem like that's a very useful feature. Smart deal progression, that's a useful one. And certainly they're trying to answer some of what Salesforce has been doing around Agentforce too. So.
Ken? Yeah.
So I'll say that from an AEO perspective, this is a very natural thing to be able to see. When we look at consumer trends, where people are not searching as much from a traditional perspective, like going into Google and asking a question. They're going straight to ChatGPT or their LLM of choice, and then asking the question, and then looking for guidance. So I think that also, to Michael's point, given the variety and how these how the platforms actually work, there is no kind of like unlock code that gets you universal access and positioning with each of the technologies. They still have their own approach and ways of being able to consume data and provide that feedback to the person that's asking the question from the prompt. So this is something that I would expect we're going to see a lot of iterations on as people release and come up with new strategies for being able to show up in whatever the LLM gives back as a response to the consumer. So we're going to see a lot more of this. It's not going to slow down anytime soon.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I think, if you look at some of the discussion or noise around disruptions in consulting, services delivery, those kinds of things, it's actually, the citation actually ends up being the new sort of gold here. Yeah. If I get cited by Perplexity or Claude, then, you're going to think, hey, I'm an expert. I'm going to go talk to him. So I can see that from that perspective being a pretty important piece to focus on for a lot of companies right now.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions after you chime in, Sam.
Yeah. Okay. So we can look at those afterwards, I guess. But talking about, keeping grounded, I guess, and this story is keeping me grounded because I have no idea what's going on here, to be completely honest. I've tried a couple of times. Okay. Maybe I'm missing something. But I have zero clue. Maybe it is AEO's story. Maybe it is Agentic's story. I don't know, man. I don't know what to take out of it, because obviously HubSpot is probably the pioneer of digital marketing. But this story, I mean, you guys can tell me what is here.
I mean, there is this there is this shift to the discussion around building systems of intelligence for go-to-market, right? Rather than system of record, or the how do you apply the data in a way that that helps with the go-to-market motion. And it and it is certainly an argument against Salesforce and Agentforce, which is definitely an older data model. They didn't focus on inbound as much as HubSpot did. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting, and I always like to watch what these guys are doing. But then, you've got Agentforce from Salesforce, you've got Dynamics from Microsoft, you've got Copilot, you've got Zoho Zia. I mean, there's a lot of competition in this marketplace right now, and a whole lot of discussion around how does AI make this work better.
Yeah. So let's go over the comments if you guys want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Leonard is saying it's important for the first time emails, at least you can find their phone, LinkedIn advertisement, as well as disclaimers. And he's talking about signature, I believe, right, guys?
Yeah.
Signature. Yeah. By the way, there is a legal compliance requirement from the marketing perspective as well, Robert. If you are talking about purely marketing, okay, you would not know because I don't think you have been flagged by Google or Microsoft. I know that you guys.
I haven't.
It's pretty bad.
I mean, we did sort of spend yesterday trying to figure out why your emails can't get to me. So
yeah, exactly. Good. That's why you need to have signatures. Okay. Signatures are important even for marketing. Okay. So we just started to use HubSpot. Okay. Good. I plan to use it for retargeting. Be careful. Email marketing is very hard these days. There are people who don't like spam. They hit spam right away, even if the email might be okay. And even if you get like a couple, you might be in trouble. So be careful. For visitors to my AR reports landing pages and email list, and target custom call to action on pages. Any comments there, guys?
I mean, at G2, we did use HubSpot. We used a couple of different tools, and HubSpot was pretty effective for managing, at least some of the activity around the marketplace site. So I have a positive feeling about them in general. I think it's an interesting solution, certainly.
Yeah. More comments, guys? Okay, perfect. Robert, do you want to go to the next story?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. Okay. We got a lot of kind of light discussions today around, I guess, email marketing and social. So Respondology, they launched Respond. I think it's kind of a unique name there for social comment.
What do you think they do? I was just curious when I saw that.
So they have an agent-powered platform that uses agents to engage with brand comments across Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm not sure if you guys use them or not, or know about them, but the company says that 97% of their brand social comments go unanswered, and 68% of the buyers read comments before making a purchase decision. Interesting. I'm assuming this is more of a consumer-based situation, but the comments are, I guess they're limiting the noise. They're helping out with outcomes. It's probably a decent use of information. I'm not sure if you guys have any comments on this, or what you think this means to how this impacts brands, or if it's more consumer based, but probably both.
It seems like a D2C sort of focus, and it is definitely a space that's pretty competitive. I mean, Sprout and Hootsuite, Sprinkler, Chronos, they all do some types of social engagement. So I haven't actually taken a look at this specifically, but if you're B2C, D2C kind of brand, it is a lot of work to keep up with comments and respond to comments in a way that really does build engagement. So I mean, I like the idea of it. I just wonder, like I said, in a very competitive market space, I don't know.
What do you think, Ken?
I agree. From a B2C perspective, I think it makes a whole lot of sense. Quite frankly, I'm actually more interested, not necessarily in being able to provide meaningful responses, but what's beyond the meaningful response, which is from what sense do you make of that as an impact to your brand or to your product? And can you turn that into something which now translates into an action that's going to be customer visible, so that you aren't trying to handle a one-off interaction with somebody who's ticked off about whatever the latest failure of the day is. And I think that's where, if they start moving in that direction, I think that's going to be even more meaningful.
Yeah. One thing I wonder about, Ken, as you're talking there, kind of pops into my mind, this idea of responding to comments at scale, AI responding to comments at scale.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I'm a big, it's going to hallucinate person, but, let's be honest, if you're responding for a brand at scale, you got to be in the culture and respond in the language and the context of that business. And that's a risk, especially when you respond at scale at machine speed, because you can make people mad really fast.
That's a really good point.
Great point. Yeah.
And Michael, you're right. I mean, there are substantial risks there. And I'm going to add some more colors here to your comments. So here, obviously, we are talking about commenting, right? And I don't think the examples that you guys, mentioned, I don't think they are able to do the real AI commenting right now. Hootsuite, they might be able to develop, but as of today, I don't think they have those capabilities. So commenting is a pain. Most people would love to do this because when you are on social media, you don't make any money. The only money that is being made there is by social media companies. You are simply wasting your time there. To be completely honest. Okay. So now if you could automate this process, which would be beneficial for a lot of people who want to be on social media just because they get visibility, but they might not want to invest as much time because they might not have as much ROI. Now, the reality is that when you look at AI powered comments, they are okay. I would say they are not, sometimes, I mean, the kind of comments that we have seen in social media, sometimes AI does better job because people don't know what they are talking about. And it's going to be, overly generic, etc. But the risk that I personally see in this particular case, social media companies are becoming very, 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 very smart. In fact, I have noticed that LinkedIn started flagging me as a spam as well. And the reason why, either they are getting some signals from somewhere, I don't know from where they are getting, but if you use too much automation, and if you don't engage on social media, so even though you might not want to do that, but if you completely automate, then they are going to flag you as spam. And they will put restrictions. So I don't know how these guys are going to survive, and I don't know if this is a future, to be completely honest. So that's where would be my risk, Michael.
The one thing, Sam, that I think this is interesting for, it's a really good use case for a small language model.
Yeah.
Because it lets you maintain that cultural aspect, the semantic aspect of responses in a way that does map to your brand. So that's the one piece that jumps out to me, that this is a pretty good argument for, not using a large language model, but using a small model that's really focused around the semantics of that interaction. A semantic interceptor of sorts, right? So it can make sure that what's going in and out is a reasonable and accepted thing inside of the culture that you have as a business and a brand.
Yeah, could not agree more. We have some more comments, unless you guys have more comments on this story, so we can touch on those. Okay. So retargeting isn't on email. It would target them on LinkedIn and other social media. Yeah, you can try that. That's a great strategy. Duolingo and Wendy's interact with their social media really well. I don't know. Do you have any comments on that? Anybody?
I mean, I've heard that about Wendy's. I haven't seen Duolingo in that context, but I have heard that Wendy's is has been doing an effective job.
What is Wendy's?
It's a fast food.
Yeah. Okay, so I thought this is some sort of social media tool because we are talking about social media.
It could be, but as far as I know, it's a hamburger.
So maybe teach me about this context. I mean, why are they mentioned in the same comment? I'm lost. I'm sorry, guys. What is going on here?
Leonard's just pointing out the fact that Wendy's does
use
have a reputation for being really good at social commentary, and they've had that for years. Duolingo, that's new. I hadn't heard that, but that it wouldn't surprise me because they're certainly, their business, they've grown a lot through Facebook and other channels.
Right.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the clarification. I'm getting very slow. Okay, Robert, do you want to go to the next story?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. This was kind of interesting. I think a lot of the live events, whether we're shifting to more of a demographical live event view. And I think the Stack Adapt launches live events workflow for connected TV sports advertising. That's what the CTV stands for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're an advertising and orchestration platform across digital, display, native, audio, email, and other different channels. And this is important because you can kind of mix and match to the advertiser's plan based upon the pace, the demographics. I actually think sports is going that direction as well, where it's going to the cloud and then feeding based upon where that demographic is instead of a one size fits all. It's not. That's changed, and Amazon's probably been the leader in that for a long time, where they're able, those big trucks that and they're kind of getting away from the conversation a little bit, but when you saw those big trucks at games or events or whatever, those are going away. It's, the broadcasters are in their own house and they're in, shorts and a suit top, and they're broadcasting, and then it goes to the cloud and they can hit the different audiences that they want. This is where things are going. So live sports is moving to more of a streaming programmatic environment. And I think this is to the benefit of the entire audience around the world. And it will help, with demand spikes, lulls. So the traditional workflow is going away, or it's already gone. Mm-hmm. So this is basically what they call a smart vertical workflow. And I think the timing's good. Mm-hmm. It could hurt if the industry's flat, or, it might not just work for that industry, but I think the impact is pretty strong. We'll see what happens with, FIFA World Cup and how they handle things of that nature, because I think that's a big deal. I think this is great. I think this is the evolution of TV. What do you think?
I mean, it does make sense, and I'm not a big live streaming sports guy, but I know I read recently something like 40% of the U.S. population is now checking in on live sporting events through streaming, and that's a pretty major chunk of people. So I guess from that perspective, it makes sense, and certainly there's less use of kind of the traditional older regular television kind of channels, and a whole lot more of YouTube and Amazon and Peacock and ESPN and all that, right?
Right. What do you think?
I actually watch a fair amount of sporting and I wouldn't. Let me reframe that. I watch. I'm a big fan of women's soccer, so I watch the NWSL on a very frequent basis. I live in Portland, so Portland Thorns, yay, my team. And I watch a fair number of games online. Live streaming, using whatever network, whether it's Amazon Prime or whatever they happen to be, going live on. And one of my main complaints is when it is time to deliver advertising, you see the same two ads like 5 times in a row.
over and over and over.
Please shoot me now. So if this can help that and make it a little bit more fresh, I am thankful. I'll happily take it.
Yeah. So, Robert, go.
No, please.
Okay, perfect. So, I guess, from my perspective, overall, from the streaming perspective, I am personally spending a lot more time on streaming as well. And when I look at some of these telcos that were slightly more traditional players, they are also pushing towards streaming. You don't have that same box. I don't know whether you guys have noticed that or not. They are pushing towards app, and you don't necessarily pay per box. So things are changing substantially even among telco players because they have to compete with the streaming players. So they are right that the streaming is probably going to be the go-to direction. Now, sorry, Michael, go please.
No, it just hit me because I did actually spend a lot of time on Peacock this year watching Olympics.
Yeah,
that is something that I
fantastic.
was really into, and the coverage was it was fantastic. It was really, really well done.
Yeah. So continuing to my commentary here, great point, Michael. But here, when I look at these guys, I think they, when you talk about decentralized planning, workflow management, campaign management, it almost comes across as we are talking about HubSpot of the, streaming world, right? This is a very different problem. We have seen some categories which are doing very similar things. At least in the customer engagement is the category that is very prevalent here. Generally, they don't have real-time capabilities. In this case, they have that. So, I mean, Slack Adopt is a very well-known player in the market, and they do very specific things. And this is great. I think they are moving towards that. So I'm very excited about this story.
Great.
You want to go to the next one?
No, yeah, and I just everybody should keep an eye on it because I think sports is going in that direction where even if you want to watch golf and how you can, feed into not only just the streaming service, but the analytics that go with it and the details that, I think you got to work your way backwards from what the fan needs. And I think that's what they're doing. And then they're being more efficient with what they're doing from a travel perspective and what it takes to engineer and actually produce these things with the amount of, even wire. They have to run miles and miles of wire to actually to pull these things off. And I think we haven't got it yet, but I think we're going to be there sooner than later where it's fully streamed and we're going to have some really, we're going to have better information than we have now. But I think we're getting there, and it's fantastic to see. I think the one that has a little bit less, more to go and less achieved is golf, where they still run miles of cable. There's still the output might still be similar, but they're not. They're having to run a lot of for each event. Anyway, because I'm watching.
The one thing that I thought was great at the Olympics was the drone coverage, the bobsled with the little drone following down, or the skiers. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like that's completely different from what you've seen in the past.
So why are other sports not following that? Is that very expensive? Or, I mean, I don't think, Robert, have you seen that in baseball? Women's soccer?
No, I haven't. No.
Women's soccer, I don't know if they are going to have as much funding, I guess, if it is too expensive.
I think the streaming's happening in baseball, but I don't think that the coverage is detailed. Is what they don't have the demographics of so many different events like the Olympics had to do, or for example, golf, where they have all the players, the coverage. I'm not sure, Ken, what's your viewpoint on soccer?
I would actually love to see more drone-oriented coverage where you're getting the perspective of the player on the field, as opposed to just, hey, we're off in the stands and now we're looking down onto the pitch. That's what I'd like to see. I think that would actually be really cool.
You've seen those cameras, those 360 cameras. Well, what if a player wore one of those and just showed every single movement? I guess they could do that with a drone too, but it'd probably be a little buzzing too close to them.
Well, I don't know. Watching that drone follow the skeleton down the little track, that was nuts. That was nuts. I'm sorry.
Pretty cool. All right, let's go to Agile Loft. Excuse me. They launched Astra, which is their contract AI platform. So they are a contract lifecycle management vendor focused on contract creation, negotiations, execution, renewals, things of that nature. They have their signature component of it as well. So I brought that up because what we talked about. So they launched
their story for today, I guess.
Yeah. They launched their AI platform for legal, procurement, sales, and finance. It says it includes a free tier, but there's usage credits, et cetera. They've launched their agentic components that include AI expert authored playbooks. They have a clean data promise as well. Is this a big deal? I'm not sure. I'm sure it's another evolution of their growth, but the contract contains operational obligations and pricing terms, renewal stuff, things that Sam likes to know that are, legal binding that we've been talking about today. But they're trying to unlock post-signature contract intelligence and lower the adoption barrier. So what do we think? Is this a positive? Is this a very good message? Does it matter? Does the customer care? I think it identifies some risks, some missed discounts, some non-standard terms, and some renewal exposure faster. But what do you guys all think?
I mean, I definitely like the smart privacy positioning, particularly in a world where AI just continues to invade the data space, and the danger of leakage is pretty high. So having a smart privacy position, clean data promise kind of approach, it seems like a pretty strong move.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys know of them, or you've been using them, or just heard them through the grapevine?
I've heard of them, but I haven't actually used them. No.
Yeah, Ken, what do you think?
Same. Yeah, so I think that I'm definitely with Michael on the. I like the fact that you're pulling some of the risk out and being able to keep the data outside of the public LLM. So I think that's actually a really good thing. And the definition of enterprise grade, that's where we start to get into the I think it's more of a marketing concept as opposed to necessarily talking about a level of capability that other players don't have. So that's the only thing that's a little sus to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I did like the freemium approach, and it certainly does give them some more competitive positioning against, like, DocuSign, CLM, or Ironclad, or some of the other players in that space.
Yeah. So from my perspective, Robert, you clearly don't like lawyers, and not many people do. I get it, man. But at the same time, they have a fairly important role to play in our society. Okay, and they have a job to do. So here, and obviously, Robert, I don't know if you have ever written for any regulated industries. Okay, every word that you are going to write and speak could be a legal risk, and that could be catastrophic. And that's what lawyers are trying to protect. You are going to hate it, I guarantee this. Okay, but that's the kind of legal risk that we are talking about. Everything from, and I mean, when we are talking about AI-driven workflows, now risks are even more. You talk to any owners, nobody wants to have any legal risk whatsoever. Okay, because they are far more painful than any other pain that they have endured in their entire life. Okay, it's that bad. So obviously, and again, that's why I'm saying, like, this is real. Okay, startups, smaller companies, they don't care, but larger companies, they get scrutinized a lot more, and they have to keep track of pretty much everything. And once they have sophisticated legal departments, they have to keep track of all of this. So that's why CLM is very important. Yeah.
Okay. We got any comments?
More comments
on this one?
Well, I'll just add something to what Sam was saying, and that is, if you don't like legal risk, don't be in business.
Exactly.
Because it goes with the territory. And I think that from just a mechanical perspective, the way that you need to look at risk is that even people that aren't necessarily like hackers or people trying to get access to your services or your computing infrastructure. The fact is that other people will be looking for vulnerabilities from a legal perspective that they can try to, dare I say, extort money from you as an operating entity. So, having a more proactive view on how you engage and look to see, can I cut off a potential route of access? It's not going to completely keep you safe, but it's better than not doing anything and hoping it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to that point, Ken, I guess it's not just about whether you like risk or not. Obviously, any business comes with some degree of uncertainty and risk. But the point is, okay, how much risk are you going to take? And that's exactly what these platforms and lawyers are trying to do. That, okay, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? I know that could be too much, but at the same time, you still need to think. You cannot simply ignore that. Okay, you cannot simply pray. Well
said. Well said. This is the lightest show about, even though we just had a little AI discussion, this has been the lightest show of that topic. I just came back from SAP's Sapphire, not to deviate but let's change the subject just a hair, but they released their autonomous enterprise, and I mean, I never heard so much AI talk. And although it's the right direction, um, it just shows the amount of money that's being put into AI, and I think the outcomes are still TBD. So I like a discussion. Sometimes it's not all about AI. Maybe AI could be talked about as a tool to help, companies be better. But there's a lot of things that go into it to make it successful. But
I mean, I was at Tableau last week, and and of course that was a big topic of discussion there as we start to move towards agentic analytics and conversational interaction with data, that sort of thing, in Tableau Next. So I mean that part, that was very interesting, and just talking to customers there, a lot of them were very excited about the way that Tableau moves now towards democratizing the use of analytics out through the business versus the old sort of analyst sits in a closet and gives you reports and dashboards whenever. That was very positive, and the Tableau audience, they're kind of like the old Autodesk AutoCAD audience. They're a little bit crazy, and they get a little excited about stuff, but in the end, I thought they were. It was an interesting one and a good use case for AI, and agentic AI.
Well, their platform is actually very good, and it's always been good. But the contextual component of it, I think, is for ERP and probably CRM and for analytics platforms is going to be a big change after AI is sorted through a little bit more.
And that semantic layer and the knowledge graph, those are two big changes that Tableau's done for this year, and that's actually where a lot of the analytics platforms start to break down right now, is having that right kind of context and having it automated, which is a big deal towards making that much more functional for businesses.
Yeah, good points. All right, so
do you want to move to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Certinia. They had their spring 2026 release and services forecasting. They're a professional service automation company, financial management, customer success solutions. This is right up your alley, Michael. Built on Salesforce, and they introduced their services forecasting in its new release. So bringing cost and revenue data together into a project level. This should help service organizations with their forecasting, their margins, and to be more accurate, which is a big deal. I'm sure there's some math behind that needs to be in place to get it to work right. But I guess professional service firms often forecast revenue separately from their delivery costs. So this kind of brings that blind spots together, and they address some of these real issues that some of these leaders have with understanding the project's profitability. And we all know that when you don't know if you made money until the project's over, and it's too late. So it's kind of important to kind of have an idea of what's going on. So this is useful from that perspective, and from the margin perspective, from the PM perspective, and for forecasting. I guess there's some specific cons and challenges on the quality. Depends on the adoption of these project managers, the data, the accurate expense capture, and things of that nature. So we think this is meaningful. It sounds like it is. It sounds like it should help the customers from a context standpoint, as we were just talking about that. What do we all think?
I mean, this is the rebranded Financial Force, and they were early in the PSA market, and they certainly have had good capabilities. But I think a lot of the all of us have worked in some version of professional services, and how many times did your project manager keep two sets of books because they couldn't keep up with the margins and how to improve the margins? And so it's like 1% increase in revenue forecast error is like 0.22% reduction in operating margin. And it's just having the data and having the right data at the right time matters. But then if you look at some of their competitors like Katana, Workday, NetSuite, PSA, Replicon, Deltek, I mean, those guys have also been moving down that automate forecasting path for a bit, Deltek particularly. So this seems like a good answer. It does seem like that it is a needed thing, and certainly PSA is a good opportunity for automation, managing projects and financials around projects. But is it unique? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Ken, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
So I think that having some additional tooling around it, regardless of what the rest of the market is doing, is actually really good. Because I think when it gets down to the services firm, you're talking about a level of operational maturity. And to the extent that our PSA tools can actually help kind of raise the bar in terms of what they're able to do would actually be very, very helpful. Because if you're still managing on a project by project basis, whether you made money or lost money, you're actually losing the game. That's not, and especially as you start looking at, we want to have new services developed, and then be able to look to see, are these going to be higher margin, lower margin? Being able to start to have some more insight into cost of delivery, and where are the needles, where are the dials and needles that you can pay attention to that are going to help optimize and have a systemic benefit as opposed to a local optimization. That's the thing I'd like to be able to see.
Yeah, I mean that actually would be really useful. And the other thing I wonder about is this whole kind of shift that we see in the industry from billable to outcome based.
Yeah,
the pricing shift, which does make the accounting considerably more complicated.
Yep. Yeah. It does, and some great points, guys. And Michael, I'm completely blown away with your knowledge of ERP industry. Sometimes, I mean, how much you know about the ERP industry. To be completely honest, okay. So here, financial force and is the right term, because they used to be called financial force. And financial force has positioned, and I think even today they position themselves as ERP, even though you are calling them PSA. Yes, PSA is going to be the major component. But
project-based ERP, that's the one I like. So
yeah, exactly. No, the ERP is going to have. So you mentioned the comment that you are going to have two different books. If you have two different books, then you are probably PSA plus accounting. You are not necessarily ERP, right? ERP is going to be far more embedded, integrated. So that's where financial force is. I think financial force does have the embedded, integrated financial layer, but I don't know how embedded that is. To be completely honest, okay. But here, the point that they are trying to make, they are doing this cell level, commentary, and that's where I guess there is a real play of AI, and they are able to do those things, and they are fairly beneficial, as you correctly pointed out, Ken, in your commentary as well. That's where they are going to get a lot more overall from the forecasting perspective. The resource utilization is a big pain, so they are going to get a lot more mileage here. Yeah. Next story, Robert, or what is the time right now? I think we can do some more. Robert, we cannot hear you. You are on mute right now.
Yeah, no, I'm back up. So do you guys think, let's do another story. Pricing is such a, and we should talk about this on the next show, because I think pricing is going to be a big hit or miss with AI and how it's actually handled with everything. And I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think anybody's got a good grasp on it, and the customers are already confused how to use AI. When you throw the pricing into the mix, what does that do to the whole kit and caboodle?
It's interesting, Robert. I was at an Oracle/NetSuite event a couple of weeks ago, and there's been this whole SaaSocalypse talk about moving from seat pricing to consumption based, and a lot of market disruption over the last 6 months. And I, in the NetSuite presentation, it was really interesting because Oracle's had this presentation for a while, OCI. They've included AI in there. They don't charge you extra for it, et cetera. Well, with NetSuite, they came in and they said, we're not changing our per seat pricing at all. We're going to stay with our same scheme. And I'm like, well, how do you do that and tie in the language model, because it does consume tokens and that costs margin? Right. And their answer was, you just pay Anthropic for that.
Pass the buck.
That is accurate, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think Salesforce is going to do? What do you think SAP is going to do? What do you think all these other? I don't think that the customer is ready to grasp what everything you just said. I listened to what SAP said, how they want to handle it, and I think the customer is still trying to understand what to do with the agents. And then when you throw the pricing in, it's gray, but it's not great from the vendor's perspective. It's
No.
great from the customer's perspective. But the problem is the vendors are talking about it in a way that resonates for them and not the customer. I think they got to flip it where the customer can accept whatever they propose.
Well, and metering, I mean, how do you meter in a way when you go to consumption-based, how do you meter in a way that's transparent enough? And then secondly, how do you give the CFO enough information that they can actually do a budget for next year and understand what they're going to spend for the products that they're bringing in?
It'll become pricing ERP that nobody will understand, I guess.
First of all,
that's fair.
The goal is, and Sam, we talked about this before, the goal is you want as many people on the systems as possible if they can achieve some efficiencies. So how do you do that and get everybody maximize the value and monetize the dollars that they're supposed to get from a vendor perspective? I don't think customers don't have a problem spending money if they get the value. I know you're going to say they don't want to spend money, Sam, but they will if they have the value. So how do you show them the value? And I don't think that value is being shown well when they release pricing for AI, because I think that if I have 50 of my users on the system, but I really need 500, and I messed up when I bought the system, I only did 50 because I went cheap, and I need 500. How do I see that return back? And I think that the vendors need to figure out a way to showcase that better. Maybe I don't know.
Robert, I don't know if you saw this, but Microsoft just launched. They announced a thing yesterday, I think, where they were talking about how they've moved towards charging seat pricing for agents now.
Yep, I saw that.
Which does make it predictable. I mean, I guess there is some argument that it's.
But what does that mean? Better. The agent doing an outcome or a task or both?
An agent apparently doing a task, and they're trying to say that one agent equals one seat, just like one human equaled one seat.
Okay.
And that takes away the consumption piece, right?
Yeah. Well, some of them are doing it based on outcomes, but every agent is not an outcome, or maybe it is.
I think Freshworks is the one that did resolution based, and I've seen a bunch of different schemes that are fairly complex. But I mean, I've been in this business quite a long time, and I can tell you nobody's ever done value-based or outcome-based pricing very well. Yeah. And part of that is because if you're a customer, how do you trust the metrics that you get from the vendor?
And I'm thinking to create a pricing GPT to be able to understand all of those variables and pricing layers.
I did.
How's that?
A pricing monitor. I like it. It's like a hall monitor, only with pricing.
Let's get one more out, or Ken, you got something you want to say?
Yeah, in the initial scenario that you put out, Robert, I think the thing that we have to be conscious of, and that I would encourage customers to be wary of, is if you now start saying that, okay, great, here's our pricing, and then the variable portion of the cost now shifts over to your relationship with the your model provider. You should be running for the hills, because, quite frankly, that puts the burden for figuring out what the cost of utilization is on your shoulders. And I'm not a fan of that. I think that actually is a really bad way of managing the customer relationship, and the vendor is setting themselves up for a potential, hey, get out, and because we're going to work with somebody who now can actually help us deliver what we need at a cost that's more predictable.
Yeah.
Predictable is the key, right?
Yeah. Yes. Nothing's predictable, though. That's the problem.
That's the problem, I guess, right?
Do we want to do one more quick one, Sam? With
let's manage the expectation. If you manage that expectation well, I think that's something that somebody might be able to go through and say, hey, there's potential upside here if you spend a little more in terms of token costs, because the agent is going to do additional things for you. Okay, great. Then you can rationalize that. But if it's just like, well, whatever comes out the other end, that's not managing that expectation very well, and it's a formula for an upset waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So, Robert, do you want to establish this one? I think we are running out of time. I don't think we'll be able to do the story. Robert, do you want to cover this one fast?
Yeah, we can. Nutrient's a document intelligence company focused on document infrastructure, workflow, automation, document process things of that nature. So they advanced their workflow automation with AI. Here we go. So I'm assuming this was a compliment to what they're already doing. Help with documents, moving them through the workflow with AI approvals, things of that nature, and AI can help with that process with traceability, validation, things of that nature. And I also think governance is a big deal, obviously. So quickly, what do you guys think? Is this a good thing? How does this invade like the crowded space with RPA, BPM, and other AI agent platforms, et cetera? Seems like there's an overlap.
There's a lot of overlap, particularly with RPA. But the one thing that I liked in this was the framing around you have the agents handle these types of tasks and the humans handle these types of tasks, and some are higher risk, and that's how you determine which goes where. Because I've said for a while I'm worried about the idea that human stays in the loop all the time for everything that an agenta workflow does. It's just not scalable. So in this case, you're dividing the work, which makes more sense to me, at least.
Right.
Yeah. Guys, documentation management is a very different category. Sure, RPA can do a lot of these things, but RPA would be more of the technology, I would say, vanilla that is used at many different places. But documentation management, I mean, there are substantial workflow. And again, this will all fall into that regulatory, Robert, that you don't like, obviously. But banks have a lot of documents. Pharma has a lot of documents. They have designed massive systems just around that. In fact, a lot of ERPs, I don't know whether you guys know OpenText. They are probably as big as SAP, and their bread and butter is documentation management. The whole e-invoicing piece, if you are doing business in Europe, good luck with that. Mexico, good luck with that. It's pretty hard.
All right, well, let's wrap up. We got a couple minutes left. Ken, you got anything closing out that you want to say about the last nutrients? Anything you want to say?
Not about that, but I'll position my closing comment that will include that as well. So I think please. That the key challenge that customers are going to be looking at through the second half of 2026 and into 2027 is not just taking and replacing pieces into existing workflow, but really going back and taking a step back to actually look at how the types of outcomes that they need and what flow of work will actually best fit that. And then selecting the component parts that you need in order to be able to make that happen. Because that's going to be your change management exercise. And I think that that's the piece that we're still placing the burden on the customer to have to figure out. And to the extent that we can actually, be a party to help get that sorted.
Is it a burden or is it a responsibility? Because if you don't, you got to own it.
I would say both.
Yeah. I don't even think it's a burden. I think they have to own it. I mean, don't you think? I mean, what doesn't the customer own something here that it's their company? They want to
do. Yeah. So I'm not saying that they're giving away their rights and responsibilities. They do need to own that. And at the same time, the way that they manage their relationships and interactions with the vendors that are providing the technologies as these things shift, that's the place where it's now going to there's additional burden on them to sort it out, because as we can see from a lot of the releases that we're watching week to week, people are not coming and saying, "Hey, I've got this sorted." They're coming up with ideas and directions. And then ultimately the customer has to make the decision what fits for where they are today.
Yeah. Okay, Michael, what do you think? What's your story for the weekend too?
Yeah, I mean, I've been spending a lot of time over the last few months, I guess, talking about the human side of AI and the move out with agentic. And I had a really interesting conversation yesterday prepping for an upcoming episode of my Disambiguation podcast with an expert psychologist, expert in change management, although he hates it when I use change management because he says that we've actually broken change management and we need to move to the next thing, which could be an interesting conversation. But I think when I start to see data that says your employees are sabotaging your AI implementations because you didn't do a good job of helping them understand that you're not replacing them, we've got a problem that we got to deal with, and we need to deal with it now. And that's going to be a big push over the next year, I think.
Well, I just wrote an article, I think it was last week. It says people, process, and technologies in the shift no one saw coming. This is not a technology transformation. It's an operational transformation. Yep. And I think, and you said mindset, it's about mindset. It's about consumer behavior. You can't just send a memo saying we're doing a transformation, get on board. It has to be about the sensitivity, and see what you said, Ken, you said, Michael, this is a major change. And then when you do this the wrong way, you implement such the fear factor even more. So it's about, this is an operational change. Yeah, and so I think that the vendors have to employ specialists to get onto that level to get to, the transformation component that addresses change from that mindset, Ken, like you're talking about, Michael. But this is one of the more prominent things that need to be addressed for transformation to be successful. But I know Sam sees me talking about it, and he's like, enough of this already. But it's not going to go away. It's always been the same. This is not a technology implementation. It's an operational. And until it's seen that way, it won't be successful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, guys, you were talking about the weekend plan and responsibility versus burden. For people like me who don't like to take any responsibility, everything is a burden. Okay. And for my weekend, for my kids, I guess, I'm supposed to say responsibility, but I think my calendar is going to be hijacked with all the kids' activities for this weekend. So that's what I plan to do. On that note, guys, thank you so much for joining. This was Analysts Gone Wild. We meet every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.